Welcome to More Patients, More Impact, More Income, the podcast for real holistic medical practitioners who want to grow their high-impact, high-income practice without selling out. And now, here's your host, Chris Axelrad.
What's up, everybody? This is something that I think is really cool about when you know your voice and you know your message is that you attract cool people. You know, like, who are the people that we think are cool? The people we think are cool are the people who we resonate with. So when you speak from the heart, which is so much of this, you're going to see how we sort of talk about this. When you're speaking from the heart and you're really being yourself and you're really being authentic, you attract people who resonate with you, and that includes your patients too. One of the things that people who are in my War Room program, one of the things that you get is you can come shadow me in my clinic for 2 days. And a lot of the people in the War Room have taken advantage of that. And one of the things that they all notice, you know, to me it's just normal, right? But one of the things that they all notice is how cool all my patients are. The people that are attracted to my practice and attracted into our world because of the marketing, because of the way that we put the message out there, because our process reflects that vision and really reflects the mission and reflects the heart that we bring to the practice. And then also, you know, like, the process that we have is very much aligned with that as well. You know, I don't tell my associates, like, what treatment to do. I don't tell them, oh, you have to do this treatment. You know, with this, I'm not micromanaging that. And I certainly don't micromanage my employees either. But we definitely have expectations as far as how we're going to communicate and the way our process is set up and the way that the patient's experience is going to be guided, and the frame and the language and all that is all very, very specific so that it's consistent, because we do have 3 locations and we want everything to be consistent and have a consistent experience. Because what I've found, and again, we're going to get into this in a minute, but what I've found is that 80%, you know, I'm a real big believer in the 80-20 rule. If you don't know the 80-20 principle, it's really interesting, you know, and there's been science applied to the 80-20 principle. When you say something like, okay, 80% of what happens with your patients is based on how you show up and how you speak. In other words, the words, the language, the story, and your presence is 80% of the results. The other 20% is your treatment. And that's particularly true with the type of medicine we practice, because why? What we are doing is we are guiding the healing intelligence with the innate healing properties of the patient to emerge and take over, as opposed to, you know, like a cardiovascular surgeon who's doing a bypass operation. They can show up however the fuck they want. They can be an asshole. They can treat their employees like dog shit and just generally, like, not give a shit. And if they're skilled enough at the actual procedure, then they're good, because they are working with essentially an unconscious person who really has reached a point where their situation is so screwed up that the only way to fix it is literally to mechanically go in there and create bypass arteries so that their heart doesn't shut down, right? Totally different thing than what we're doing, man, because Our path, our medicine is about the cultivation of spirit. At the very root of what we do is about the cultivation of spirit. Absolutely, we also do acupuncture. Yes, we give herbs. Why? Why do we do that? To open the pathway, right? We talk about chi, we talk about acupuncture opening the pathway for chi. What is chi? It's the intelligence that the body possesses that allows the body to heal. And you can do acupuncture all day long. Here's the thing. If there's no spirit there, if there's no life there, then acupuncture won't do anything. People who come into our practice, now, if you're marketing to people with real problems and you're marketing to people who are really in pain, then the people coming into your practice are scared. They're scared. They don't know what to do. They have, varying levels of really worrying about their future, really worrying about how things are going to turn out for them. That compresses their spirit within themselves. And if you show up with a weird vibe, you're not really sure what to say, you're not really sure how to act, the process is unclear, there's just not a lot of like real consistent flow there, then that spirit within them does not have the opportunity to start to emerge and start to come out and start to flow. That's why this stuff is so important. And it's really the root of how we become a go-to practitioner in our market. So if you are truly a leader and you are truly connected with your heart and you're truly serving from a place of love and gratitude, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, you become the center of this galaxy. Like you become a light to others, and people will start to become attracted to you. And the resources that you need to accomplish your mission will start to appear and become attracted to you as well. And some of those people and some of those, they will never actually become your patients. So that's sort of the things on the outside of the circle, if you will. The things that are flowing on the outside of the galaxy there. They won't necessarily ever become your patient, but they're aware of you and they're aware of what you're about and they're aware of your message. That is so critical for this go-to practitioner status, that people associate your name with whatever it is that you do, that you have transmitted that so clearly into your market that everybody knows, hey, you want help with this, you go see this person. End of story. They're the best at that. And now you can be the best at more than one thing, but that's why the marketing has to be specific. And you have to be talking to people with specific problems if you ever want to create this kind of go-to status. Now, what will happen is you'll get all kinds of other people coming to you, and I'm going to talk about why that is in a minute as well. And so you become go-to on many, many different levels. But in order to establish that go-to practitioner status, it's going to require you to talk to very specific people with very specific problems. So first of all, the bedrock of this whole thing is leadership. Leadership means, number one, you're not waiting for anyone else to approve of your path or your message or your vision. Like I remember when I went to school, like I come from a family of doctors, very conservative family. How could you get more? Now, my mom is not like conservative in the sense of, my mom is very like, if you want to talk about politics, my mom is about as left wing as you can get. Okay. And it's funny, my dad is the opposite. My dad was in the Army. He was a surgeon in the Army in Vietnam. He's a very conservative dude, but he was an amazing physician. And he's retired now. And he spent 40 years and he's helped so many fucking people, man. So he's an MD. My mom's a lawyer. You come from a family where your dad is a doctor, your mom's a lawyer. The expectations are pretty high. When I went to acupuncture school, everybody was like, what the fuck are you doing? When I got out of acupuncture school and I started saying, yeah, I'm going to do gynecology. I'm going to focus on women's health. I'm going to focus on fertility. And people are like, what does that have to do with acupuncture? It's like, you know what, man? You don't wait for people to approve and to buy into your shit. If you're a leader, you move forward on the path that you know you believe in. The other thing is, you are not afraid to be seen and heard. You are not afraid to be seen and heard. And you are willing to take a position. You are willing to stake out, plant your flag, and say, this is what I believe in. This is what I stand for. And go-to status requires that your message is clear and your voice is authentic, meaning you have to know who you are and what you stand for, and you are not going to seek the approval of other people. Now, that doesn't mean you go out and be an a-hole and just try to offend people, of course. But if you root yourself in authenticity and heart and caring, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that. You can sleep at night knowing that you are being real and you care and you are putting the best message out there you possibly can with a real desire to help others. And there will always be people who just don't get it, who don't agree with you, who believe differently than you. There will always be people who don't align with your message. But when you are coming from a leadership place, you don't let that stop you. That just becomes irrelevant. The other thing is, to achieve this go-to status is like you start to project, and you have to project certainty and clarity. Because why? The people who are suffering and need your help, they are lost. They don't have clarity. They're not certain. They need that. They want that. They crave that. It doesn't matter if they're having fertility problems, if they are suffering with brutal endometriosis, if they have IBS or Crohn's disease, if they have severe chronic neck pain, if they have whatever it is that you're focusing on in your practice, whatever problems you are offering to help people solve, the people who are really suffering, they are desperate for answers. And so when you show up with your answer and you believe in that answer and you are willing to lead people forward with that answer, people are like, whoa, check this out. And they actually pay attention to you and they listen to you and they follow you. Okay? That doesn't mean they're all going to become your patient. But it definitely means that you've got the attention of your market. Your message spoken in your voice is what will build your success. Being go-to means that people know what you're about, and the people who need your help know that you are the resource for them. And not only that, they become evangelists for you because they are so crystal clear on what you stand for and what you bring to the market. There's no doubt in their mind what you bring to the table.
If you're ready to fill your practice and keep it full without the stress and overwhelm, then get instant access to your free autopilot patient attraction playbook now at www.highimpactpracticesystems.com/autopilot.
So here's what happens in my practice a lot, actually. And I've talked about this on a lot of these free trainings. And I've talked about this on a lot at the summit and whatever, is that people in our market, there's been so many patients that I've helped. And all those patients are within a very specific window of problems and gender even, and age group. And the demographic just totally sorts itself out based on what problem I focus on and the problems I focus on. And I've become so well known in my name. Now, I didn't realize when I named my clinic with my last name how important that was going to end up being. But it really was a good decision because nobody can pretend to be the Axelrad Clinic, okay? Everybody knows what that name is synonymous with within a certain frame of people that have certain problems and are within a certain phase of their life. And so we will get people who go into these moms groups and these Facebook groups locally who will say, hey, I have X problem. I'm looking for a natural solution. I'm looking for a doctor, a holistic doctor to help with this. Or I have, fertility. I'm looking for someone to help me with my IVF. I heard acupuncture is good for that. Or my daughter is dealing with severe endometriosis and we've gone to the doctor and we're really looking for somebody who can be more holistic. And like they'll get 10 comments or 20 comments on that question and 80% will be mentioning my clinic. I hear this and I know it happens. Now, I'm not in these groups because I'm not in any of these moms groups and stuff, obviously, because I'm a dude. But I know this happens because people come in and tell us that. I get patients that come in and they will say, it'll say, how'd you find out about us? Facebook group. And I'll be like, oh, cool. Like you were in a Facebook group. That's great. Who sent you over? And they'll be like, oh, no, I just asked. And then like 20 people commented and almost everybody said you. Okay, cool. All right. That's because why? I have stayed on message and I have been relentless about focusing on that market and those people and those problems. And here's the cool thing about this. When you find your message, and your voice, nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can take that away from you, and nobody can duplicate it. It's you, it's for real, and it's yours. And to me, there's nothing more powerful. It's like I was just having a conversation with somebody about who was thinking about joining War Room. They decided not to do it, which is fine. People decide not to do it all the time. Number one, it's not cheap. Number two, it's just not for everybody. That's fine. I get that. And she was telling me that her husband does not want her to do War Room. Her husband wants her to hire a marketing agency. Like, you shouldn't even be doing the marketing at all. Don't even worry about that. Just hire someone to do it for you. I get that. And maybe there are some good marketing agencies out there, but I'm going to tell you something right now. There's nothing more powerful than knowing that you have the power, you have the know-how, and you have the ability to generate your own leads, to generate your own attraction, to generate your own patients. To know that I know how to do that and I don't have to depend on anybody else and I'm not paying somebody else and just getting this magic, like a magic box, is like I'm good, man. Like, I don't need to pay people. I'm going to do that shit myself. And the thing is, it's not hard. Everybody thinks this shit is hard. It's not, especially when you know your voice and you know what to say and you start to notice the market is responding and you keep refining that and you stay on message and you stay on point. It becomes really, really easy. And it just starts to gain and gather its own momentum. So let's talk about the 3 pillars, okay? The first pillar, the first core pillar of developing that go-to status is what I call powerful presence, all right? Powerful presence. The second core pillar is a clear mission. And the third core pillar is a grateful heart of service. And I'm going to talk about why they're important. Well, first of all, I'll talk about the consequences of not doing those things, number one. Number two, we're going to talk about what causes us to mess it up. This is really important, man. Like, one of the most important things that I've learned is how to be really honest with myself and how to look at where I'm screwing shit up and not beat myself up about it and not be like mean to myself about it, but just be like honest. And it's been one of the biggest keys to getting at least as far as I've managed to get. And I'm not saying that I've gotten that far. I mean, I am where I am. I've got 3 offices. I've got 3 associates. We've got 7 people in total working in my clinic. We're doing pretty damn good. I'm very grateful for that. I'm sure there's a lot further to go, and maybe we will end up expanding more and all that stuff. But the biggest thing that I think has helped me get to where I am is knowing that I don't know shit and being willing to also, like, when things aren't going well, instead of blaming on other people, like when my patients stop coming, instead of blaming on them, looking at how I could have done a better job communicating the value of what we do. How could I have done a better job keeping them more engaged in their treatment process? How could we have had our process more clear so that they understood what was going on? I'm relentless about that. So we're going to talk about what it means to not be present, what it means, why we end up not being present. And then we're going to talk about why it's so important to be present and what the fuck does that have to do with generating this go-to status and this message that's going to just crush your market and like put you at the top. Okay. And finally, we're going to talk about how to do it. So let's talk about powerful presence. What are the consequences of not being present? Let's just talk first about what is presence. What does it mean to be present? It means that you are actually like paying attention to what is going on right here, right now in front of you. Your mind is clear, your mind is calm, and you're able to fully absorb the experience of the present moment. That is powerful presence. Powerful presence. The consequences of not being powerfully present. Okay. And again, let me just make sure you understand. This is definitely important to develop go-to status. Okay. It's funny because a lot of stuff I teach, people go, what does that have to do with it? And it's like, well, I don't think in a linear way. Like, my brain does not work linearly. I am very good at coming up with processes and logic and all that, but it's a very nonlinear way that I think. So when you're not present, you can't listen. When you can't listen, you don't know what people want. You're not able to really tune into what it is that they're looking for and what it is that they need. People come to you because the analogy I'm going to use is like a piano. Okay, if you have a piano that's out of tune, it doesn't matter like how awesome the person playing the piano is. It's going to sound funny, right? That's how it is to me. That's what illness is. Within every person is a master composer. Within every person, we all have and we all are the spark of divine source, if you want to call it that, okay? This amazingly creative and beautiful force. We all embody that. And when we're not well, it's not that there's something wrong with us, but the instrument, the body, the mind is out of tune, right? People are coming to us, and that's what's going on with them. And if we're not listening, we're not going to be able to tune that piano. You can, and I've watched somebody tune a piano. There's no machine that can tune a piano. They have to listen, and they sit there and they mess with each thing, and they have to tune it to a very specific frequency. And it's a very careful listening. You have to be so present to the sound of that piano to tune it. Okay. So you have to do that not only in clinic, but with yourself. and be really present to who you are. So that's the first thing. If you're not present, you can't hear and you can't listen to what's going on around you. Second thing that you're not going to be able to do is you're not going to be able to notice the subtlety of what's going on. Now, let me tell you right now, when I'm in clinic, I personally, and this is why mindset is so important. This is why it's so important to cultivate yourself. And they talk about this in the classics ad nauseum, about how important it is for the practitioner to have self-cultivation. To be able to notice the subtle things that are going on in your patients and what's going on in their minds and in their emotions and in their bodies, and to really tune into just how beautiful that whole process is, even when they're in pain and even when they're suffering. To be able to stay in touch with that is so critical, because that is going to emerge in your message when you start to talk about what you do. And it gets you, and it should anyway, inspire you. When you're inspired, it's really easy to go talk about stuff. It's really easy to go and just pop on a Facebook Live or make a video or write a blog post or whatever it is you're going to do to transmit your message into your market. When you're inspired and you're fired up, you are going to, that's going to come through in how you talk to people and how you are there with people in your clinic, okay? No matter where you go and no matter what you're doing, it's going to come through. It keeps you in touch with your inspiration and your motivation to be present, to pay attention, and not back out of the moment. Like when your patient comes in and they tell you they didn't get better, to not let that throw you off, to not let that, like, you do not even fucking flinch. You are fully present. Like, okay, you didn't get better. Okay, here's what we're going to do next. Or when you are out giving a talk, doing a talk or doing a video or writing a blog post, and somebody disagrees with you. I've done over 100 free talks over the years, and I've had people who got a little bit worked up about, because I was saying things that really did not agree with their philosophy, and I could tell it was rubbing them the wrong way. Are you going to exit the frame? Are you going to hide? Are you going to clam up? Of course, it takes a while to develop this. So yes, you probably will the first time it happens to you if it hasn't happened to you already. But you just keep coming back to the moment. The third thing, when you're not present, your power is scattered. Your power is scattered. You're not concentrated. When you are really focused and you're present, your attention and your ability to facilitate transformation, not only in the clinic, but also in your message, becomes very, very powerful. You can take the same amount of energy that is being generated by an incandescent light bulb, and if you take that same amount of energy and concentrate it into a laser beam, into one, beam, it will burn holes through the wall. The same amount of energy, the same amount of power. So you take all that power and you gather it together, and then it becomes it really is able to travel longer distances and have more of an impact, a lot more of an impact. What causes us to not be present? A lot of things, but here's the big ones. Number one, a lack of self-love. Okay? For a lot of people, that might sound weird, but here's the thing. When you don't love yourself and you're not being kind to yourself, the second things are not going the way you expected, you're going to start to beat the shit out of yourself. You're going to start to question yourself. And when that starts to happen, you know what happens? You're not there anymore. You're not present. You're stuck in your head. The second thing is lack of mercy and forgiveness. So whether it's you or your patient that's getting on your nerves, when you're not able to stay calm and stay present in the moment, then again, you start to exit the frame and you're not able to stay there and continue to deliver the message that you need to deliver, whether it's in your marketing or in clinic. The third thing is a lack of gratitude. I'm going to get more into this in a minute, but here's the key. Being grateful for where you are right now, what you have right now, keeps you rooted in the present moment. Everybody wants instant gratification these days, right? And it's our nature to want to get to happy and good and cool as fast as possible. But being able to be present with yourself and with your patients and with your process and paying, like I said, paying attention. You know, when we've had patients ghost on us, or we've had people who weren't happy, or we've had people that didn't get results and all that, to be able to be present to that and be able to say, what the fuck went wrong there? Let me look at how I screwed that up. Let me look at what we could have done better. To be able to be in the present moment and not always need things to be good and not always need things to be perfect. Very, very important. And that comes from gratitude, being able to stay present in the moment. All right. Now, why is this important to developing your voice and your message and developing that go-to status? Well, number one, when you're present, again, it helps you to start really noticing your feelings, your vision, what's important to you, and how you want to show up. You can't be clear on all that stuff if you keep backing away and getting stuck in your head and questioning yourself, okay? The second thing is it brings you into alignment with your natural gifts and talents. Like, you start to notice, like, wow, this is what I'm really good at. Like, I need to cultivate this. I need to amplify this and expand this. I remember that when I had an epiphany about one of the things that I was really good at, it was just because I was so locked in the moment in clinic. And I realized that I was really helping this person to see and helping them to unwind how they were getting in their own way in their process of getting to the goal that they wanted with their health. And I was able to articulate that to them so clearly and help them see that. And I was like, man, like, that was really cool. That was really powerful. And that was like so impactful for them. And before, I was just so focused on like, oh, am I doing the right herbal formula? Am I doing the right points? And I started to realize that for me, the way I practiced and my natural gifts, that I wanted to focus on that more and more. And as I did that, the practice grew exponentially. The more that I started to focus on my own gifts and my own truth and what I really started to feel was the most important part of the process from my side of things, right? Other people in their practice maybe focus on other things. That's cool because that's them and they're following their mission and vision and purpose. All right. So how do you cultivate powerful presence? Obviously, do everything you can to stay in the moment. Do not exit the frame. Be present with your patient regardless of what's going on. Same thing with your marketing. Same thing with when you're giving a talk, when you're writing a blog post. Stay in the moment. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't criticize yourself. Don't hold back. Just be in the moment. Number two, don't spend any time, really, as little time as possible, fantasizing about what people might think about you. Okay? And just be yourself. Like in clinic, in your life, and online, and everywhere else. Just be yourself. In my clinic, it's very conversational. It's very natural. We joke around. Sometimes, I mean, obviously you guys know that I'm not one of those people that doesn't curse. So, and I'm the same way in clinic. And you know what? I'm sure that I've had patients tell their family members and friends, like, yeah, he actually says fuck in clinic, and he sometimes, whatever. But it's like, that's it. That's me, right? And this is for me too. One of the most attractive things is when you just see somebody who's comfortable in their own skin, just being themselves. What happens is then they immediately feel like they can let their guard down and be that way with you. And if you're going to help people heal, then you better fucking, they better be comfortable around you so they can talk to you and tell you shit that they probably, like I know that I've had people tell me stuff that they haven't even told their spouse, probably. That's not supposed to happen in an acupuncture clinic, right? Quote unquote, we're not therapists, right? But the key is, man, again, this is all about the chi. It's all about the healing power of each individual. And the more that they can be themselves and be honest and start talking to you about things, it really gives you insight and helps you to really, truly help them. The third thing is, again, you've got to be who you are and you've got to love who you are. That's going to help you stay present in the moment. So that is powerful presence.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.